Welcome. For today's life lesson from the back of a horse truck, I actually want to start a mini-series. I would like to start the 7 habits of highly effective horse people. Now this is obviously an adaptation of Dr. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective, normal people. But I think we can give it a real horsey flavour, and we can kind of take the benefit of his research and put it into our equestrian lives. So for today, habit number 1, be proactive. Dr. Covey found that in his research, a common trait or a common habit of people who he considered to be highly effective was that they were proactive. They tended to concentrate their time and their efforts and their resources in things within their circle of influence. So, they would be things like things that we have direct control or direct influence over. We have direct influence over our thoughts, behaviours, philosophies, our actions. And so he found that the most effective people put a lot of their time and resources into those activities. He also found that people who were not so effective tended to be reactive. They tended to concentrate on the bigger circle, the circle of concern. The circle of concern includes kind of your bigger picture stuff. It's kind of like world or federal politics, or the price of fuel, or even like for us, the machinations and the administration of our sport as a whole. These tend to be things that we as individuals have very little impact on. No matter how much we jump up and down, we can enact very little change. So it's obviously ineffective to kind of concentrate or pull our resources toward these areas. And we do need to recognise that our time is a resource. The kind of like ratchet effect of proactivity is that as you learn to concentrate your efforts and your time into your circle of influence, what Dr. Covey found is that circle of influence actually enlarges. So the topics and the areas and the people over which that you have influence actually increases as you put more and more effort into that circle of influence, into the things that you can change. So I want to, Dr. Covey actually references another American author, and I think this quote is actually really important for us, and it's kind of a segue for how we're going to put a horsey flavour on this. This is Marilyn Ferguson, who said, "No one can persuade another to change. We all guard a gate of change that can only be opened from the inside." So, I think this is so important, even though this is written well over 15 years ago, and the quote is probably older. This is so important for us horse people, with the stuff that we're kind of facing now, and in this day and age of social media, it gives us so much opportunity to kind of, be the keyboard warrior, or to try and enact or try and force change on somebody else. So when we get our activist hat on, what we're doing is actually trying to force change. We're trying to force open that gate of somebody else from the outside, and that's why we actually experience very little success when we do it. And so I want to change that into something much more proactive. So the topic I want to introduce to you is a big one that's kind of floating around on social media at the moment, and there is so much outrage expressed, and quite validly the feelings are very, very valid. And the topic is tight nosebands. So we've all seen images going around social media of horrifically tight nosebands, and I do not condone the use of tight nosebands at all. But what we are doing in spreading those images and in trying to enact change in somebody else is ineffective. I actually think it's even worse than ineffective. I think it's destructive. And so I want to start a different movement. I want to start a positive movement where we, each one of us, this is something we can do as an individual, where each one of us actually takes a picture of our own horse and we show that I love it loose. The equitation science says that no nosebands should be tighter than what allows 2 fingers onto the bridge of the nose, horse's nose. And we can get creative. We can do this in a whole host of different ways. I want to start a movement where we all go and take a picture of our horse with our suitably loose noseband with the hashtag I love it loose. And let's have some fun with this. And let's show those people let's show the naysayers what can be done with this kind of power of positivity. So, this is something quite dear to me because I believe that the welfare of our horse is only ever going to be as good as our depth of understanding about our own psyche. So this is something each one of us can do. We can go and we can be proactive.